Right. Good evening, everybody. It's 9 o'clock. Just waiting for a few more people to join, but let me crack on. Firstly, I just want to welcome you to this session this evening. So a warm welcome to everybody. This is the third in the series. So it's the final session this evening. So this is live. If you can find the chat box, so mine's that way. And just give me a double Y in the chat box if you can see the video screen and you can see the slides below. Just want to make sure the tech is all working okay. Good stuff. Cheers, Michael. Good to see you again. And by all means, put any questions you've got during the session in the chat box. If I don't get a chance to answer it as I'm going through, just in case it distracts me from reading the slides, then I'll come back to them at the end, and I'll do a little Q&A at the end if anyone's got any questions. Hopefully I'll only keep you for about 15 minutes this evening. I know your time's precious, so I'll close the video so you don't have to sort of look at me the whole time, you don't get distracted, and I'll get straight on with the content, okay? Okay, so we said there was 10 reasons. I did 6 I've covered actually already, and 4 I'm going to do this evening. So 10 reasons why you're not an IT contractor yet. So a little recap first of all from the other sessions. So one of the reasons why you might not be a contractor yet is this term I call permie paralysis. So that's basically being stuck where you are. The second one was contracting concerns. So that's like genuine questions you might have about contracting. And that's something I definitely did back in the 90s. I definitely had some real genuine questions about how the whole thing worked. Third one is overly optimistic. So if you're always looking on the bright side too much, you know, the grass is sort of greener where you are all the time, that can hold you back. The fourth one we covered was lack of knowledge. So that's when you've got a real, you know, you recognize you've got a real genuine gap in your understanding about how the whole thing works, but you might want to do it. The fifth one was lack of skills or lack of experience. And the thing I tried to get over last night was, is that a real lack, or is it like a perceived lack of skills or experience? And what sort of is the right amount of skills or the right amount of experience? Because it's usually in your head you think of those levels of skill or levels of experience. And the sixth one, which I wasn't so familiar with, which, you know, I'd asked the people in the group to put these ideas forward, was a lack of a visa or a work permit to work where you want to work. And the main thing I wanted to stress was for you to try and find out if that was a real blockage or was it an actual solvable thing that you could deal with. So let's move on to tonight's ones, which are number 7. So you don't know where to start. So how? You might want to do it, but how do you actually go about doing it? So how do you transition from permanent work, employment, to contracting without risking everything? What? So what are the actual practical steps needed to become a successful IT contractor? So these are all valid questions you may have at the moment. I've definitely had them. Where do you actually go to find these great contracts that you've heard about? And how do you actually do that? How do you go about finding them? You know, once you've found the places to go and find, look and search out these contracts. And then finally, you know, when should you take that leap of faith and try and get that first contract? And again, sort of how do you do that? So give me a quick why in the chat box if you've ever felt any of those things. You know, you don't know where to start, whether it's the how, the what, the where, or the when. Because I've definitely felt probably, again, all those things. So I'm sure you've probably felt a couple of those at least. And you know, I go really into sort of quite sort of deep dive into these topics in my online video training course that I've built, and also within my live coaching programs that I deliver. So I see there's a few questions coming in. So Can I have a recording of all these sections? Yeah, if you've registered, which obviously you're on this session, then you should, I think it's like 3 hours after the event, I think you should get a link to the replay. So maybe that's if you've not attended. So if you message me on Facebook, tag me in the Facebook group. So join the Facebook group and tag me, and I will then message you with a link to the replay, because I think if you don't attend, you get the links to the replays. But if you attended and you wanted the links to the replays, fire me a message, okay? And Michael just said, one question, David, have you ever heard of any instances of ageism against younger contractors in the workplace? And if so, any tips on how to deal with it? I've never really heard of that sort of thing. I've heard of, some friends of mine, different ages, finding it a bit harder to get contracts. That's sort of natural sometimes, the older you get. Similarly, if you're on the younger side and you've got less experience, then that could go against you. But I don't think it's relating, sort of specific to contracting, really. I think that's just, when you go for an interview and you've got a guy who's got 5 years experience and you've got a guy who's got 1 year's experience, they might go for the guy who's got 5 years experience, unless he's twice the price of the other guy. So I like to think these sort of roles, and whether they're contract or perm, are, given on merit. So I'd like to believe that it was nothing to do with age. And generally, if you've got a contract that lasts 3 months, 6 months, or a year, I don't see why anyone would question someone's ability based on their age if they can do the job. That's my views anyway. So I hope that answers that, Michael, from my point of view anyway, my opinion. So moving on. So number 8, you might have money worries. So you could have real financial concerns, right? The whole idea of finances might be a bit of a worry to you, and it might just be a bit of a headache, to be honest. The whole idea of finances, full stop, might just, put you into sort of a tailspin and into meltdown. Maybe you're not great with numbers. You're not great with money in general, and that's fine. Maybe you're risk averse. Obviously, being risk averse serves us in some way as human beings, right? But obviously, going contracting, you don't want to risk it all, and I understand that. And you don't want to lose that steady income just, for example, for a short-term contract. You don't want to risk leaving a job that you've been in 10 years for maybe a 1-month contract or a 3-month contract. It can feel very overwhelming. And even if it's higher rates at 3 months, you're thinking, hang on, it's only a 3-month contract. What you don't realize is obviously that 3 months could turn into 3 years. The next one is just a general financial overwhelm. So if you worry about things like invoicing, all the, situations to do with, getting paid, and you find things like taxes and VAT scary. I mentioned some the other night, I think, tax, corporation tax, VAT, PAYE, NI, national insurance, all those terms I mentioned last night. That could just, again, send you into a bit of a tailspin and a bit of a brain meltdown. Okay, and then when you start throwing in things like dealing with accountants, then again that can really sort of overwhelm you and stop you. And obviously, if you've got a good accountant like I have, then that takes away a lot of that pain. So you don't have to think of all those things. So again, give me a Y in the chat box if you feel that you've got any of those sort of money worries, whether you're a bit, you've got financial concerns. You might recognize in yourself you're a bit risk averse, or you just feel a bit overwhelmed by the whole financial side of things. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's perfectly understandable. And one of the big things is to recognize that yourself first. You can't do anything about it until you recognize it yourself. Excuse me, I'm just going to grab some water. Good stuff. The next one, which is a big one that came up when I asked these questions from the group, was lack of confidence. So it could just be a straight lack of actual confidence, and what I want you to think about is your confidence lacking in just this pursuit of, trying to be a contractor, or do you just lack that self-confidence, in many other areas of your life as well? Or is it just this bit? It's probably in lots of other areas too. again, I mentioned it before, but in relation to confidence here, you could be really risk averse. And again, if you can sort of turn it around and look inwardly and sort of try and identify where have you not taken risks before, and where have you taken risks, and obviously where things have worked out and where things have not worked out, you know, and how did it work out? What story have you created around that whole thing of it working out and it not working out, you taking a risk or not taking a risk? And I always love that. There's a quote: you'll regret far more things of the things you didn't do than the ones you did do or tried. Okay, you'll regret far more of the things you didn't do than the ones you did do or tried. Maybe you have sort of belief issues. You know, do you believe in general in life that you can do stuff? And you know, that's, so again, I'm talking wider than just contracting, for example. I'm talking about anything in life. And that's a picture of Henry Ford, actually. And one of the famous quotes he said is, you know, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. I think that was the quote. I don't want to butcher it. Yeah. So whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. So he had a real confidence and a belief in what he was doing. And one of the examples of that I really like was, he said something like, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Okay, so he had a real determination to pursue his dream of the motor car. So yeah, Henry Ford. Another thing that's sort of related to confidence, it's just your general mindset. Again, I mentioned that on either last night or the night before, and really sort of trying to recognize in yourself whether you're a bit of a worrier, you're a bit of a negative Nancy, you know, or you fail to see the positives in lots of situations. Because, you know, sometimes we're always, you know, we're like that to a degree. All of us are like that a little bit to a degree. But do you recognize that you do that quite a lot? So yeah, give me a why in the chat box if any of those really sort of resonate with you and ring a bell, that you think, hang on, yeah, I'm really, it's that belief thing with me. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. And it, again, all perfectly natural, all perfectly normal. I've done it before. Excuse me. So again, I say mindset comes up a load in contracting, which people I don't think realise so much. And in my 7-week coaching program, I've got, you know, I provide like a whole list of resources on how to sort of get into the whole mindset stuff and try and address all the issues you've got. And there's a whole module actually purely on mindset. So moving on to the final point in the 10 is you need help. So you might just need some help. So that could mean support, because doing everything on your own can be hard, right? And it's much harder to do this sort of stuff completely on your own. Now, you may have a spouse, you may have a partner, you may be able to sort of discuss this sort of stuff with them, seek support from them, but you just got to be careful, because the more people you seek support from, the more you can get these negative Nancy's that I talk about sort of popping out of the woodwork and shouting you down and saying all the negatives again. So you just got to be aware of that. You want the right kind of support. So look around you, look for those other people around you, whether it's friends, it's family, it's current colleagues or ex-colleagues, for example, who can support you. Now, mentors have been a massive thing in my life. So, you know, Pete was a guy I used to live with, he was the first contractor I ever knew. So what about you? You know, have you got any contracting friends? Like Pete was my contracting buddy that I lived with. So he was the first contractor I'd ever heard about contracting from. Have you got any friends, any colleagues, any ex-workmates like Pete, for example? But since having a mentor like Pete, for me, I've then gone on to have other mentors. That's Will King from King of Shaves fame. He helped me when I was setting up another business in the past. Had a good chat with him. Really, really invaluable to have someone to sort of run your business ideas past. I've also worked with Mark Atwood for Atwood Digital. He's been a mentor of mine, helping me with, he basically was the one that helped me devise the idea of the IT Contracting Academy, because I wanted to try and teach people who were a couple of steps behind me in the contracting sense to do what I've done. And I wanted to see if that was useful to people. So he was a big help there and helped me start writing a book and things like that. And then more recently, I've had a great mentor in Dylan Denicha, and he's the guy that basically was showing me, I went on a webinar course and he showed me how to put these webinars together. But so much more than that, he's helped me on the business side and trying to get the whole platform together and the whole marketing strategy of how you deliver courses like this. So really invaluable in your life to have a mentor of some sort. You know, you need someone. So, you know, and I will be running a live 7-week coaching program very soon. So again, I help people who are a few steps behind me. That's the idea. And of course, you know, I mentioned before, I've got the Facebook group. So again, tag me in there if you want to get the recordings, for example, or you missed one of the sessions, then by all means, tag me in there, message me, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But the Facebook group is important because it's a community at the moment of contractors and wannabe contractors. So I'm not just helping people who just want to be contractors as well, you know, as well. That's my main aim. But I also want to help contractors or guys who have just started contracting very recently and need a bit more support and help too. Okay, and you can feel free to go and post in there, share stuff, ask questions, tag me in, support each other. It's a real good, you know, I'm trying to just sort of build up that community into something really useful and valuable. So again, tag me if you want additional support there. So I was, oh, let me just see, yeah. So hopefully you've got the link for that, but just search IT Contracting Academy on Facebook. So yeah, just ask yourself, you know, where do you need support from? You know, is it just general support from chats with people? Is it via mentors? You know, you can use the Facebook group, or do you need something more? So a quick summary. So number 7 was you don't know where to start. So basically you need a bit of help there somewhere. Number 8 is you may have genuine sort of money worries, genuine financial concerns. You might have a real sort of lack of confidence. You might be a bit nervous. You might be a bit risk averse, perhaps. And then finally, number 10, you sort of recognize you need help from somewhere. So yeah, give me a shout if any of those things sort of resonate with you and you feel like those things at the moment. Because I think I definitely had all 4 of those things when I first started. Good stuff. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay, well, my final thing is an invitation, and I have a 90-minute masterclass coming up soon, and I go through my IT contracting success model, and they are the 3 critical steps, I believe, to IT contracting success, and they contain with them the 7 stages of mastery for IT contractors. And at the end of that session, there'll be a live Q&A, so a live Q&A session at the end, so you can ask whatever questions you want, and I'll stay on after the 90-minute session and answer as many questions as possible. So the invite is that the session is called Payroll to Pay Rise, 3 steps to enjoying big money, massive freedom, invaluable time, and supercharged confidence as an IT contractor. So this session is going to be next Tuesday. So I've run these 3 little mini sessions. This one is like a 90-minute session, 90 minutes max. Next Tuesday, the 30th of October at 8 p.m. And I will, let me just, I think I can actually put the link in the chat box. Yeah, so there should be a link in the chat box to go straight to that sign up URL if you'd like to join me on Tuesday. It'd be really good to see some familiar faces there. There's the actual link there as well. So yeah, if you look in the chat box, there should be the sign up button. So this is a free online training masterclass. That's what I like to call it. So it's going to be of massive value to you guys. I know that. And one of my friends, Thomas, he actually got a contract after just attending one of these sessions, just like I'm going to run on Tuesday. He literally attended this free session. And then a couple of weeks later, I think we met up for a chat or a coffee, and he then got a contract sorted. So he found it really, really useful. So you've got to register as well. That's one thing. Some people don't bother registering and hope they're going to just join lastminute.com. There's no access to replays unless you're registered. So you have to register for these things, you know, on Demio, for example. So follow that link, register, and you want to grab a spot soon, because the webinar platform that I use, this one here called Demio, they limit it to 100 people. So 100 registrations. Doesn't matter how many then turn up, but it will only take 100 registrations. So I really hope you'll join me next week. That would be really, really cool. And if you've got any questions now, then give me a shout in the chat box and I will answer any more questions you've got. Okay, can't see any more questions coming in. Oh, I saw a chat come through there and it's not on my other bit. So someone just asked how to get rid of negativeness. Well, what's the negativeness around? Sorry, I didn't want to pronounce your name wrong. Gopinathan? How to get rid of negativeness. We're all negative to some degrees, but what you got to do is not necessarily have a negative view that's going to stop you doing something. Yeah. So if you want to be a contractor and you start talking yourself out of it, so this is where that mindset piece comes in. If you talk yourself out of going contracting, I talked the other night about just to apply for a contract, you know, get your CV sorted out, apply for a contract, go and attend interviews and get offers. That doesn't mean you have to quit your job and take the contract. You could just do that to see how things are. But straight away, if in your head you're being negative and saying, oh, I can't do that, I've got to do this and I can't do that, then that's what you got to recognize. And that's what you got to get really good at recognizing if you want to be really good at getting contracts. Because you're going to develop this supercharged confidence that I'm going to talk about on Tuesday. But it's all right to start off negative. Does that sort of answer it? I'm not really giving you a straight answer. I'm just, because I haven't got a magic bullet to get rid of negativity. But I hope that helps. Any more questions? Any more for any more? Okay, good stuff. Okay, well, I'm going to sign off for now. I hope that was of use to you. Sorry, I went on a little bit longer than the 15 minutes. We're at about 24 minutes now. But if you want to learn more, if you like some of the stuff you've been seeing so far, and you want to see a bit more of a in-depth masterclass where I cover the full strategy of my model, the 3 steps to IT contracting success, and the 7 stages of mastery to becoming a master contractor, then join me on Tuesday. It'd be really great to see some familiar names in there. Okay, can't see any more questions, so I'll say good night for now. All the best. Have a good rest of the week. Thanks a lot. Good stuff, Michael. Yeah, it'd be good to see you there. Friendly name, familiar name and all that. Yeah, I hope it's of use to you. Yeah. Okay, cheers, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a great evening.